Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mass Appeal. I'm Seth Stutman.
I'm Ashley Cole. What is your favorite fall flavor?
Cinnamon. Anything with cinnamon in it. She surprised me with that question, so I didn't think of a response.
That's a good one.
But anything with cinnamon. Hot apple cider, apple crisp, cobbler, anything like that. I love it.
I love pumpkin. I know it's like everyone's favorite, but
no, it's not my favorite. It's not my. It might be my second favorite.
Carving them and eating them, and we're actually going to be incorporating pumpkin into our dish that we're making with Chef Bill this morning. Joining us is personal chef Bill Collins from chefbill.com, and we're making chicken marsala, but we're using pumpkin.
Yes, and
sounds delicious.
It really is good, and it's actually almost a fluke thing the way I came up with this, because my wife and I were at a restaurant in Provincetown, and it was fall, and they had some pumpkin on the menu, and she said, you should come up with pumpkin in a savory dish. And I started cutting up pumpkin, using it, and it wasn't working out, and I thought, why not incorporate pumpkin in a sauce? And that's how I came up with the chicken marsala with pumpkin.
Very creative.
So it's actually, she really is.
So it's a wife-challenged recipe.
Yes, and I think we'll probably leave it at that. But so what you want to do is start with a warm skillet. And as you know, I like to check out the skillet by just putting a little water in, and it is hot enough. So now I'm going to put in a little olive oil. And the steps on this are really very straightforward. Is going to be sauteing, just browning the chicken. And you just got to getting the oil a little bit warm there. And then the steps are browning it first.
Now, did you cut that in half or pound it or something like that?
I did pound this down. I thinned it out, but I didn't want to make it too super thin. The reason being is I didn't want it to cook too quickly. I wanted to give it some time to cook. So that's going to cook for a little bit there. And then we can just kind of go over what the other parts of the recipe are. I always like to put a little salt and pepper on.
Now, do you poke holes in your chicken? Sometimes when I'm marinating, I think I'm bright, and so what I'll do is I'll poke a bunch of holes with a fork in my chicken. Is that smart, or?
It's not smart.
You can tell. You don't have to be
smart,
nice
though.
to me. Yeah, you don't have to. You could say,
No.
Seth, you're an idiot. That is a stupid idea.
No, actually, it's not a stupid. It's a very clever idea, but it's not as effective as you think it might be.
Okay.
And so that's the only difference, because the liquid will only go right down where those holes are. So it's not going to really give it a big infused flavor.
Okay.
So that's the only difference. But I like the way you're thinking. It just won't get the results. We'll work on that one.
I have a question for you, Chef Bill. I buy thin sliced chicken breast, so that way I don't have to pound it, because then chicken gets all over my kitchen and it's a bad thing.
Yep.
Is that another good idea to just buy it already?
No,
or is that too thin?
that's a very good idea.
Okay.
Well, actually, I like this. If it works for you, do it. And that's the way I look at it, because a lot of people don't like handling raw chicken. It's just the way they are. So
yeah, it's like a phobia or something. You know?
Exactly, and that's perfectly fine. So, and rather than see Dr. Tim about this chicken phobia, you can buy the thinner chicken. And so it'll work out just fine. It'll just cook a little bit faster. And so, especially with a family, you don't want to spend all this extra time. Save a step, do that. I think it's a very good idea.
What's the next step in the recipe, Chef Bill?
The next step, once we turn this over, because all we're doing is browning it. Once it's browned, we're going to put in some mushrooms. Now, what I did, especially for today for TV, is I pre-cooked the mushrooms to move the steps along a little faster. But there are a couple secrets to cooking mushrooms. One of them is you don't have to put any fat, whether it be butter or oil, in there. You can certainly add them and they'll add flavor. But the thing about mushrooms is they're filled with so much water that the water comes out. It's called sweating the mushrooms. So you can actually do this in a very healthy or healthier way. And so what I like to do with the mushrooms is once the chicken comes out, you've got all the flavors in the pan from the chicken. Once that comes out, what I then do is I put the mushrooms in that pan, but I do put a little marsala in to give them flavor. And I see how quickly that browned.
Yes.
And it really is just very, very fast, because you're just browning it. We're not cooking it through, because then we're going to build the sauce and cook it through after. So that's not even going to be another minute or so. And then we're going to put the mushrooms in.
Chef Bill, do you wash your mushrooms?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I should do that.
Now, here's the thing about washing them, because you don't want to submerge them in water and soak them and try and rub them off, because they're going to absorb even more water. So what I like to do is just get a little trickle of water going under the faucet and really just rub the dirty bits off with my thumb. I'm not giving a major scrubbing, just getting the big visible parts off. And then that way they're not soaking wet, they're not taking in more water, and then I trim off the bottom of the stems and then cut them however I cut them for that recipe. Okay. So again, it's fast, it saves a step, and you don't have to worry about getting every ounce off. I mean, you get the dirt off, you don't have to be crazy about it.
Just looking back on it, I feel like I eat a lot of dirt. now that I think about it, because I don't wash my mushrooms.
It's totally natural. It's fine.
Sure.
So these are already sweated.
Yes, I already
Okay.
cooked these. So now I'm going to take these out, because by taking these out of the pan now, what I'm doing is I'm doing these next steps of what we like to call building a sauce. And so by turning this up, ordinarily, had these mushrooms gone in raw, I'd have them on a very high heat, either high or medium high, depending on your stove, and then just put a lid on top of them just to let them, so the steam doesn't all escape. Because if you don't put a lid on, all the water that's coming off of them is just going to be evaporated up, and then you can dry out your mushrooms. This way, by doing it with the lid on, the steam will go in there and it'll keep them moist and flavorful. With some of the Marsala, that will add more flavor to it. Now here's the thing about Marsala wine. You can open it up. Most wines, it's only allowed good for a few days, if that, or an overnight, and then the flavor starts to dissipate. Not a Marsala or other wines, because these are called fortified wines. Whether it be like sherry or port, those are all in the category, or with Marsala. What that is it's regular old wine that you buy in a bottle, but once it's done becoming wine, they put it back in the barrel with some brandy or some other spirit, and that's what gives it the zippy taste.
Sounds good to me.
Zippy taste, I
we'll
love
let
it.
you get to the zip, because we're going to finish up this recipe a little bit later in the show. Don't you go anywhere.
We are back in the kitchen with personal chef Bill Collins to finish up our recipe for chicken Marsala. We have fun, don't we?
Oh, we do.
We always do.
I wish people could see what happens during the commercials, because that's where the fun comes.
It is, but this is even more fun because we'll be able to actually have the food to eat.
That's right.
And that's
Good,
what
good.
it's all about. What I've done was, since we were last here just a few moments ago, I've cooked the chicken. And that's actually how fast it is, because when we first started, I just put it into saute, took it out, and I made the sauce. It's called building a sauce, because you have all the chicken bits in the pan, and I put in some chicken of the Marsala, the Marsala wine, and some chicken stock. So now the fun part begins. That is, I've got the sauce here. The chicken's already been cooked. I took it out of the pan. I'm going to take some canned pumpkin, and your amount may vary. So that's why I always like to make sure I've got enough on hand. And just put that in like that and whisk it in. So you can see how you've got a very thin sauce.
It's about to get real thick.
It's about to get real thick, and the color's going to change. So really just whisk it in. And also I've got the advantage that if it gets too thick, if I put in too much pumpkin, which I think I might have, I can thin it out, because I'm also going to be adding more Marsala in a moment anyway.
Oh.
So that's too thick. So now I'm going to turn the temperature up, and I'm going to add in some Marsala.
Now, if you didn't have pumpkin and you're trying to thicken up the sauce, is that where like your cornstarch and all that comes in?
You can do cornstarch, you can do flour, and traditionally with chicken Marsala, what a lot of people do is they just finish it with a knob of butter. And that gives it a nice richness, certainly flavor, and it works out real well. This just happens to be an incredibly flavorful and healthy alternative to it. So, because you see what we've got now is just a terrific color, and it's given it some body and some density. It's already come up to a simmer. Now I know I need to put a little salt and pepper in, because I haven't put in much yet. And just a little bit.
There's a pinch. Now
Just
you want
a
to make
pinch.
sure you don't get pumpkin pie filling. You want pumpkin.
Absolutely,
Oh, is there a
because
difference
Don't mix up the two.
that's
right?
a really good point, because you can buy a pumpkin pie filling that already has the spices, the cinnamon and the clove and the allspice, and that would really throw off your Marsala.
Very much so,
So
yeah.
what you want to do is just go with the plain old pumpkin. Now, see, it's come up to a simmer. My famous tasting spoons. I've already put this one in my mouth, and so since everybody's watching, just take a little bit here. Ooh, that's edible. So I'm going to put
That's what we're
in.
going for here, edible.
I'm going to put in just a little bit more salt, and we're done.
Then do we add the chicken to the pan again, or do we serve the chicken and then top it with sauce?
We can do whichever one you want.
Go ahead.
And so either one, because now we've got the chicken right here. I've pulled it out of the pan, but I also had some already plated up.
Look at this.
So you can serve it any which way you want. So there you've got the chicken Marsala. I just did a little rice. So many things can accompany it. And it's just so fast and easy to do. When you look at the time, because usually in your kitchen you don't have commercial breaks, when you do this, unless maybe you do, from beginning to end, it's much less than even half an hour. Browning the chicken, building the sauce, chicken simmers for another 7 or 8 minutes to finish cooking through, and it's done. And so the key components of it are the chicken stock and the pumpkin, and then the mushrooms and the chicken.
Voila,
And
there you
voila,
go.
and the Marsala.
And maybe some wine on the side.
I'm not going to say no.
You never say
I'm
no.
not gonna say no. Hey, if you want a copy of Bill's chicken Marsala recipe, just click on Taste Appeal when you visit mymassappeal.com a little bit later today.